Jeff Hinson here for RunRepeat, and this is my review of the Under Armour HOVR Infinite. Infinite, Infinity, I'm not sure exactly how they intended that to be pronounced. But regardless, I'm going to give you my opinions. Let's just start with the positives first on what I really liked about the shoe. And I definitely really like it when it looks like people paid attention to details. The build quality is top notch. On top of that, they definitely threw in some nice details, a little bit of reflective stylings for running at night. One big thing for me that I really was impressed by was actually HOVR. The foam is legit. I looked into it a tiny bit, which Under Armour worked with Dow Chemicals to produce this midsole. And when you're walking around on the day-to-day in this shoe, it's really soft. It's got a nice comfortable feeling. But when you're actually running in it, it firms up. The best comparison I would have is it moves closer to something like New Balance's Fresh Foam. And when you're just walking around, that's when you're running. But when you're walking around, it actually feels maybe a little bit closer to something like Nike's React. That combination was really nice. I actually was quite impressed. It's a legit foam, legit technology. I was wondering about these things because Under Armour is not a long-standing running shoe company. They've gotten into the game recently, and yeah, this shows that they're actually carving out a really nice niche for themselves. Just the quality of their products, but also with the technology linked in. They bought MapMyRun a few years back, and that's another thing that I thought was a positive, was the connectivity in the right shoe. You definitely get a good overview of anything you would need for a basic runner to intermediate runner, maybe even advanced runner. So these things are really conveniently packaged. They come with the shoe. So where I can see this shoe actually shining a lot is for people getting into running and they want something built up that they can log a lot of miles on. The metrics work. You know, you don't have to go out and look for a watch. You have your phone, you have the shoe, that's enough. And a good thing is that you can get a lot of the stats just running with the shoe alone. So you don't have to take your phone or a watch or etc., which is also a nice thing. I would really like to see Under Armour develop that further so that, you know, who knows where that can go, but that could be something that would really be useful because I mean, let's face it, most of us don't like to carry. You know, the less I carry, the better when I'm running. The more free I feel to actually just get out there and yeah, go with it, see where my runs take me. Another cool thing about the app is that with these, you can actually get in some good training plans. I haven't exhaustively used the training program, but I've started to work on a 5K program to improve my speed. It's actually quite a useful tool, even if it's just one that reminds you to get out and run and devises a program. I still don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I never think that there's time wasted by actually getting out and running. Some negatives about the shoe. I mean, it's not all good. The shoe actually is quite heavy. At 336 grams, it feels lighter than it actually is, but it's still a relatively heavy shoe. And this is the downside of just all that material that they put into this shoe. It seems like most manufacturers these days are kind of like cutting back excess amounts of rubber and cutting back, trying to make lighter shoes. And it's either a genius scheme by Under Armour. I like having rubber underfoot. I like getting the traction when I'm running. They definitely were not stingy with the rubber on this shoe. You can see it's got like a quite substantial amount. Maybe they could have cut out some parts here, you know, and trimmed some of that weight down. Some of the actual weight on this shoe is not as functional as I would want it to be. Like this tongue is is bulky and puffy. I was initially worried that at this like 30 degrees weather, it was just going to suffocate my feet. It actually was relatively breathable, but at the same time, it begs the question, why? Why make a puffy, heavily insulated shoe, when you can make something a little bit more trimmed down that doesn't weigh so much? Another thing that it's missing here is that the tongue is not attached. I mean, it's attached at the front here. It would have been nice to get something here to protect the foot. And this comes to actually my biggest gripe about the shoe. I have a slightly wide foot, not totally wide, but with my left foot in particular, the insole and the shape of the shoe, this edge here on my left shoe dug into my foot, and the first few runs I definitely had blisters, and eventually I've just developed a callus on my arch that have helped me now not to feel anything. But still, when I get the mileage up in the shoes, maybe past 10-15 kilometers, I start once again to feel the presence of that rubbing. And that's where this puffy tongue is a negative, because it doesn't allow you to get a really good lockdown on the shoe. You can see on the details, I've actually used a runner's knot on the shoe to give it more lockdown, but that still doesn't fully prevent a little bit of heel slippage, or I'm guessing that's what's causing the friction that's given me these blisters. So that would be my major complaint. Another thing is, it's not ideal to have most of your data tied to one particular shoe and one particular app. This is a training shoe. I would not wear it on a race day or a race situation. So what am I supposed to wear if I still want the metrics from MapMyRun or Under Armour? What do I wear in a race situation? Do I then have to purchase another Under Armour shoe that is connected in order to get those metrics? I don't like being tied to certain brands or certain products. That's not... I can see from the company's perspective that would be a positive thing, but from my personal perspective, I like to be able to use different products. So in conclusion, the shoe is solid. It's definitely got some really good qualities to it. Where I can see it shine is for someone, beginner to intermediate, getting into running, really enjoying getting out there, but would like those extra metrics without buying a watch or buying into certain apps like Strava, etc., and gets all that bundled in with one shoe. I think that's actually a really good thing. Under Armour is onto something that could be really promising, depending on how much and how far they decide to take these training programs and diversify their running line. Also, if you have a slightly wider foot, I would say go into one of your local shops or retailers, try on the shoe first before you commit to it. That'll probably potentially save you a little bit of pain. But otherwise, I do think the shoe is a positive one. This is my first experience with Under Armour in the running world and HOVR, and it's a legit foam. I wish they would trim a little bit off the shoe, but overall, I expect that all this extra material that they did not hold back on will help the shoe last for a good long run. 600, 700 miles definitely seem possible with this, and that is one of the downsides of what I mentioned before. Some of the lighter shoes from other companies definitely seem like they're only going to be good for maybe 300, 400 miles. So if you're looking for something that's a good all-around shoe that you can really use and kind of like throw around, this is a pretty good one. Supposedly they've also designed this foam to hold up and really last a long time. Let's see. This is Jeff signing off.